I was getting ready to torch weld this together, and I had an idea that would really speed this up. I thought maybe I can TIG tack these panels together on the buck. That would make sure the alignment is good, and it would really make it go fast. And so what I did was got some just copper water pipe that I have sitting in the corner of the garage, cut some pieces out of that, taped it onto the buck to protect the fiberglass buck. It's not gonna save it, I'm not that worried about it, but I don't want it off-gassing into the weld either. And so then and I marked it with a Sharpie so that I know where those pieces are. So when I do that, I know the places to put the tacks that are protected. And I don't know. We'll just see how this works. I taped some pieces of copper behind this seam to protect the buck. I did some tacks there. I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm guardedly optimistic. Looks like, wow, looks like there's no evidence of anything on there. That worked fantastic. So I'll be using that some more, and I'll do some more tacks. If you decide to do your welding with a TIG machine, here's some tips. Of course, you need to make sure your seams are perfectly lined up when you go to weld them. Just take a little bit extra time to file them to get them just so. You want to clean the surface real well with acetone, and you want to brush them with a stainless brush. Even though it looks like new metal, on aluminum there's always an oxide that you just have to disturb for that metal to puddle cleanly. Also, out on your edges, if you have the flexibility of having one edge a little bit long, you'll be able to weld all the way out to the edge to get that. If you do not have that capability or that option, you can also just clamp a little piece of copper behind there like so. That's salvage from the water pipe I used earlier. That will help absorb some of that heat as you get out to the edge. When I'm doing the tacks across the panel like this, I like to go ahead and finish weld that last ½ inch or so, and then that way when you're welding the panel for real, you're not heating up the panel as you chase that heat out to the edge. It's just already done, and so it just makes it really clean to finish out the weld. Then also, before you weld, I find it makes for a smaller bead if you go back and knock down any tacks that you feel are a little big. I really like a flat disc like that. These seem not to clog up and they cut really quickly. Of course, you can use a file or anything you happen to have. For your filler rod, I think people often don't think about what difference it makes what filler rod you use. The bigger the filler rod, the bigger the weld. And so I always have a variety of different diameters. And even during the pandemic, you can get from McMaster-Carr aluminum wire on a spool. I've got roughly 50 thousandths in my right hand, 64 thousandths in my left hand. I've got a spool of 35 thousandths as well. So if you had a little bit bigger of a gap, you might use the 64, and then for areas where you had a really nice airtight fit, then you might use the 50 thousandths or even the 35. It seems to me that the 50 seems about right for making a weld that is flat as opposed to concave, and it makes it super easy to finish. I usually make the diameter of the puddle about like a pencil eraser, and that seems to be about the right size to get good penetration, so I don't have to weld the back or anything like that. It's just one pass with that size puddle using the 50 thousandths rod, and then you're done. So here's a TIG welded seam. I use the copper backing trick over here on the edge. This is slightly proud, but yet has enough penetration. That was with the 51 thousandths filler rod. Another thing, when you're welding, try to get in as comfortable a position as you can. There's no sense making it any harder than it has to be, so just try to get comfortable.